Welcome to CS Radio. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 223 of CS Radio. I'm J. Michael DeAngelis.
And I'm Natty Leach.
And back again in the studio.
I'm back swiveling in my chair.
You're
going off frame.
Yep. You're going to drive me crazy in post-production. And we're joined off camera today by our friend and colleague from Penn Global, Chris Klaniecki, who's in the driver's seat a little bit today, just helping out. We appreciate your assistance, Chris. It's been a long day, Natty. We were over at the bookstore first thing this morning.
We're in the bookstore. I got noticed by a student that I was on social media because you posted me.
Oh, did you get a shout out? Like somebody said, "Hey,"
it was one of our peer advisors.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't just on the street.
Oh, I thought maybe
she was like,
in your drop-ins.
Were you at the bookstore? And I was like, wait, how'd you know?
Oh, you're everywhere. So yeah, we were over at the bookstore. We've been collecting graduation surveys from willing participants, seniors who are graduating, letting us know what they're doing, or let us know that they're still searching and they can come by and see us. It was a lot of good energy over there this morning. It
was good. Everyone felt nice to talk to.
You had to leave a little bit early, so I was there by myself for a bit. And I ended up doing quite a bit of intense counseling with someone who was thinking about having to renege on an offer.
We also spent over an hour talking about reneges.
It's in the air. And in this particular case, I mean, I told the student she should come in and meet with an advisor and discuss fully. But I felt she had put a lot of real, serious, thoughtful thought into it and made a lot of lists of pros and cons. And it involves switching an industry. So and I was like, that, not that it's good. It's never good. But like you can make a little bit more of an understandable case. If you're gonna like renege one banking offer for another banking offer, man, that like word gets around, that could seriously hurt your reputation.
Yeah, we always talk about how do you mitigate the potential risks. It's always a giant question mark. You don't know what's going to happen, and sometimes mitigating the risk is if you're switching to another industry, that's not as dangerous.
Exactly.
As long as you don't plan on going back to that.
And so that's what I said, and she already sort of had like a draft conversation in her head. I thought she had really worked it out, and she had also she had family reasons not to have to move to a different part of the country. So
and I think that helps the employer understand. You're never going to make friends when you renege on an offer, so someone's going to be upset. But
I thought you have to decide what's right for you, and then you have to be willing to accept whatever consequences of your decisions.
Yes, and that's the biggest thing we talk about.
So I hope it was I have not had the chance to do any advising since we moved. I've been so busy doing things.
No theater, performing arts people.
No performing arts people have come by. So it was nice to put those shoes on for a little bit.
Cool.
And I encouraged her, come in and make an appointment. And that is one of the items on our list today. We're going to, in the spirit of March Madness, we're going to do a little ranking. We're going to do a little tier list.
Yeah, we got a tier list ready. Basically, I guess they're of things that will help you find your next internship or job. I think that's kind of the criteria, right? So how useful or how important, I guess you could say as well, is this thing? And there's just some caveat where it's like, I was worried at some point, like, we're just going to put everything in the S tier.
Yeah. I was like,
I think all of these are in a grouping where they're all important. I mean, the whole process is very holistic. I think every one of these items will help you in some sort of way. There's not one here that I think either of us are going to say, F tier, it's terrible.
Oh, right.
But I think you're still looking within a pretty narrow window of, like, there's a pretty high floor and a similar ceiling to a lot of these items.
All right.
So let's get started. So I have a tier list made that Michael created some images for. I might ask you for some backup. Remember what the images represent.
I'm sure.
I know that the first one that we have is resume.
Resume. I mean, it's a staple.
You need a resume.
You need a resume.
So it has to be on the high side.
But I don't. But it's also just one element of your job search process. I mean,
yes.
it's an A, right? It's an A, but not an S for me.
Let's start it at A.
Okay.
See how things go.
All right.
I'm just worried we're all going to say A for we're career advisors.
Oh, I got some things that are going to be.
Oh,
S.
okay. All right. Well, yeah. All right. Well, let's
and
start
maybe,
resume
maybe
A.
A few Bs.
I think resumes are so important because they're oftentimes the way you get noticed first.
Sure,
whether it's by a person looking over their list of everyone who applied, or if it's just an AI computer software that just scanned through all the applicants and spits out a score of this person looks like they fit the job description. So it's very unlikely you find a job without a resume. So from that standpoint, I think it kind of has to be pretty high.
Oh, for sure. Yes, you're not getting any job without a resume.
Yeah.
I mean, walk into a pizza place and say, "Hey, can I deliver pizzas for you?" Maybe.
And with many of these, like, there might be ways where there's some flexibility where if you don't have a great resume, but you make a really great impression in some other sort of way.
So, like, it's really important, so it's an A, but there are ways in which it doesn't have to be the most important thing. Let's talk about what else is on our list, and maybe it'll move. But right now, resume, it's an A player. It's your tried and true.
So is this next one? It's the handshake logo.
It's handshake.
It's just handshake as a whole.
Handshake as a whole. I mean, you're a Penn student. You've got access to handshake. Again, talk about making me feel good at the bookstore. We have the option to fill the survey out in paper or scan the QR code.
Yeah.
So many people were excited that it just opened Handshake.
Ooh.
And one girl said to her friend, "Wait, you have a Handshake app?" And the girl was like, "Everybody's got the Handshake app." And I was like, "Everybody's got the Handshake
These are the kind
app.
of stories that you say, and I never believe you that they actually happen.
This is what happens when you leave early. It was great.
Well, I have a feeling you're going to say S tier.
Well,
so here's the thing.
I don't think it's S tier.
It's weird because Handshake doesn't always fit in with everything else here because it does so much.
It does so much.
So I was going to say I was leaning on really high because it's, in one hand, it's one place that you can apply for things.
Yeah.
Amongst a sea of places you can apply for applications. You could have LinkedIn as a job portal. You could have Indeed. You could find like a media bistro that's really specific. You could find a professional development site or a professional association site that's specific to copy editors or something. But Handshake is also how you schedule appointments and meet with us, and also see all of our events and our career
the more you
fairs.
say, the more it's like an S tier.
I feel like it's a little skewed. What do you think?
Let's make it our first S.
All right, let's put it as S tier just because it does so much.
It does so much. It's also a networking tool.
Yeah, you can find other students. You can find.
It's also our surveying tool,
which is near and dear to your heart.
Very near and dear to my heart. It's also, particularly if you have the Handshake app, and everyone's got the Handshake app, it's another place you can see content like clips of CS Radio.
And a lot of things that are coming up, you put them in Handshake in some sort of way, or you find them in Handshake.
Yeah.
Like
so
you might schedule an interview and everything.
Takes an early lead.
Yeah, I think it's almost unfair to even be on the list, but we'll put it at S tier as the first one. The next one is GPA, which we get questions all the time from students.
Yeah.
My GPA is whatever. Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Or is that going to mean I can get a job in X field? What are your thoughts there for GPA?
This is a solid C tier for me.
Solid C? Okay. I was thinking even D tier.
Okay. I mean,
but I'm a little bit radical on it, only because I feel like people overemphasize it. They talk about it being the make or break, end all be all.
Sure.
I think it rarely matters. Like the worst case scenario where someone's doing really bad, maybe they failed a few courses and their GPA is really low. I'm talking like, in the 2 range.
Yeah.
If that's the case, just leave it off your resume.
Yeah.
Don't draw attention to it.
And I know it can be tough because it's on your Handshake profile. You can hide it. Sometimes, is this still the case that employers can set a GPA preference on
they
their
can
jobs?
Put it as a preference.
I know it doesn't prevent anything.
And you can
but
still
it can
apply,
be intimidating. Yeah.
But an employer could hit a checkbox of meets the criteria I asked for and only look at those applicants. So I mean, I think of it as sometimes a baseline getting looked at. But there's so many applications that they don't necessarily know your GPA when you're applying if you're not sharing it with them.
Yeah,
so
100%.
It could mean nothing.
100%.
The other thing is at Penn, students are doing
generally
very well.
Yes.
And usually when I have these conversations, people come in and say I have a terrible GPA. They have like a 3.6 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, you know what? You convinced me. D tier.
Okay.
D
and
tier.
The other thing to think about too is if you're above a 3.0, my recommendation is always included on your resume. That's impressive enough. You're doing well at the practically highest tier you could consider at a school like Penn.
Right.
And if you're below that, just leave it off. Don't draw attention to it. Maybe they ask and say, "Oh, I noticed you didn't put a resume or a GPA on your resume. Tell me about that." And then you talk through, "Oh, you know what? My first semester didn't go so well. I'm still improving over X, Y, and Z." And it's just a conversation piece then. All right, so I've convinced you. We're putting it D. All right, next, I think it says networking. It's a Vault guide.
It is. It's the Vault guide to networking, but I'm using it to represent
networking as a whole.
This one, see, in my mind, before I was really thinking, all right, you convinced me on Handshake as S. To me, networking is an S tier tool.
Okay.
It's so important on so many levels. I mean, in certain industries, entertainment, but not just, but many industries, knowing people is a great way to get your foot in the door, getting opportunities. But it's also such a great career exploration tool because you can learn about industries that you're interested in by reaching out. And so, we talked before the show. I said maybe we should put LinkedIn on here, maybe we should put my pen on here, and you're like, well, let's put all of that broadly under networking. So there's a lot there, right? So there's LinkedIn, there's the Penn Alumni Network, there's your personal network, there's things like Handshake and social media networking, and like all of these ways that you can connect with people in your lives and learn about other people's careers, learn about how you can get into a career, get your name out there, meet professional contacts. It's such an important part. We always stress to students how important it is to network, even at a very casual level, like just meeting someone and becoming their friend, is growing your network.
And networking is one of those things that will supersede so many other things on this list. If you have a terrible resume, you have a terrible cover letter.
Right.
If you're networking, make a good impression.
Exactly.
That's going to be more important than any document that you might have submitted to them. So I think you're right. I think it should go into S tier. I was thinking for a second, there are plenty of people who find jobs successfully without going through the networking side of things, but that doesn't necessarily detract from how useful it can be for those who do. So yeah, I think I agree. I think we'll keep it at S tier. So this one is a picture of our old on-campus interviewing suite. Is this representing on-campus interviews or something different? Or just interviews broadly?
Interviews broadly.
Including or a starting interview of like a first round and then a phone screener, like all anytime you get to talk to
the whole shebang. Yeah, everything outside of I think we've got coffee chats and info sessions as their own thing, but any formal job interview, and that could include like you said, a phone screener or even a hire view when you're talking to the computer. No?
You're starting to make me think that I'm going to put everything at S tier. So.
Oh no, I mean, it's really important.
It's at least A tier, right? Because that's where you could have a terrible resume. It's similar to networking. You could have a bad resume. You could have not a great GPA, but you get to talk to someone. You make a good impression. You do well in the interview. You're going to stand out against every other candidate. So I feel like it has to at least be A and a high A because I feel like it's similar to networking that way. I just don't want to put everything in S tier. Let's put it high A.
High A, A+.
Okay. We'll start there. And now there's a certificate icon. So is that I was talking about this with you earlier, additional certificates you might get in a certain skill or a LinkedIn learning course or something like that.
B? C?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was leaning C. It's weird where it's like for some jobs that could be essential.
So for certain things, particularly in the engineering world, you need certain certifications.
Or in healthcare, you might need certifications in some sort of way.
Even in mental health. So those sort of formalized professional certifications are part of your education.
Yeah, so I think we should put it C tier with the understanding that some
when we're talking about these, we're talking about sort of, I don't want to say unofficial, but less formal things.
Yeah. Like a data analytics certificate you got online or something.
Exactly. So something that you did outside of your regular course of studies as a enrichment, as a bonus thing. So either you paid for a course or you took a free LinkedIn learning course. But this is a great to do because it's a great way to show, particularly if you do something on LinkedIn Learning and you get a little badge on your LinkedIn profile that says, I completed the 8th level Python course, right? So I've got that. I know that I've got that skill.
And students will often ask me, should I do the certification? And my answer is usually, is that it's a way that you can showcase something.
Exactly.
It's not the only way.
Exactly.
So if it's like you already feel like you have opportunities, that you had an internship or you did something else that showcased that exact same skill set, it might not be necessary.
Exactly. And so if it's something, however, a lot of people make the change to go into programming.
Yep.
So maybe you were Chris and I have a great friend, Bob. He was a teacher and he decided to go into computer programming. So he did his computer programming degree and then had a limited portfolio of things. So to be able to say I'm certified in these things was a boon.
Yep. And I think that's the good point, because like if you're making a transition and if you don't have like a body of work or an opportunity to showcase those skills, a certificate could be the way that you showcase that.
Exactly. And think about, think about what the job is. So do I need this certificate? Well, does the job tell you need the certificate, or the job says you need to be proficient in this? I don't have a portfolio where I don't have a way of demonstrating right now other than I completed this course. Great. That's perfect.
So next up we have cover letter.
I love a cover letter.
I think this is a highly contested
I know.
entry.
I don't know. Is it going higher than B? To me, it's an A, but
I feel like there are instances where it's more important than your resume. I've been on hiring committees where I see, 20 resumes, they all look basically the same, and then the cover letter is the way that I can see, this person actually cares about working with us. Or this person actually has thought about what this job entails, versus sometimes they'll give a cover letter that's just like, they just kind of want to work at Penn generally, but they don't actually know who Career Services is. And I'm sure that's true at other companies too. People who see a big brand name and are like, I would love to work for X company and I'll just apply to every job. And then every cover letter just sounds like generic, I want to do this. But the ones that are really good,
they stand out. They
just stand out. Yeah. But you hear, we have conferences that we go to, like the NACE, National Association for Colleges and Employers.
Yep.
I'm improving on my acronyms.
It's only been 8 years.
And we've heard recruiters at those be so split. Like,
real
ones who
split.
say it's the most important, some who say I don't even read it. So I think that's one of the reasons this is so like contested on where it should probably go.
But I think, for the people that read it, and there's still a lot of people out there that read cover letters, it's real important. It can make your application stand out. Really, really. I mean, as someone who's done a bit of hiring myself, it's the same thing. I got all these resumes. They all basically meet the qualifications, but a cover letter can make or break it. Because I got cover letters that were clearly written for a different job, and like you didn't.
And then you hired them as our producer. That was different. It was a syllabus from Sam.
That was Sam, and he accidentally uploaded his syllabus because he was testing the system and did not realize he would not be able to go back and fix that. But what a memorable story that was, you know?
You remembered him as an applicant.
But a great cover letter can get you that interview.
So are we going to put it low A, like just below resume, or in the B?
I mean, I'm good with low A.
All right, let's put it low A. All right, next, I think this is a picture. Is that Lisa?
It's a career services appointment.
Coordinator.
It's a career services appointment.
So this one's hard not to be biased about.
I know.
I think it must at least be A tier.
At minimum.
Because we essentially, our goal is to help you with all of these things. Right. Every item here is something that we can help you plan and prepare for. So I think it needs to at least be A. The only reason I wouldn't put it S is because I feel like it's a little self-serving for us to do that, yeah.
Well, again, we do know there are plenty of people
that
don't come in and make an appointment.
When we look at stats, it's like just over 50% of students meet with us at least one time or like work with us.
And we're talking strictly about appointments here, so that's not to mean they didn't avail of our services virtually.
Use Handshake,
or something like that. But an appointment can hopefully really help you push over the edge. Let's make it a high A.
All right,
make it a high
A. That's where our ego comes in. All right, this one is someone writing a letter. I think you mentioned
letters of recommendation. Yep. Again, in terms of jobs, right? More important when you're applying to a graduate school, medical school, things like that. Those are a key part of the process.
True.
I think formal letters of recommendation with jobs don't happen too often.
I'm tempted to put it D.
I for the job search, I would as well. Now, I do think they can be helpful. So at Penn, when you apply to Penn, you have an option to say, I know someone at
who
Penn
works
who could speak on my behalf.
That's a little bit more of a referral, though.
That you're true.
Than
That's
a letter
true.
of recommendation.
That's true.
And a referral is almost like part of the networking process.
Yeah, you're right.
So
it does force the person who's name. So if somebody names me, I do have to write a little letter of recommendation.
I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's a fairly new thing. They started maybe last year, 2 years ago. So I had a couple people who had applied for things and said, "Hey, can I list you as the reference?" And then I get a thing from Workday asking me what's my relationship to this person, and then would I write a little something up. So that was great. I had one friend who was applying for a whole lot of things, so I just had a thing saved in my documents, recommendation. I just copy and paste it into Workday every time.
Good.
It is great. So it can be helpful, but it's not really asked for very much anymore.
I think I'm going to put it D only because I feel like most of the time in the job search process, they've already decided to hire you at the point in which they're asking for references.
They don't ask for the references. Is just a formality.
It's weird in that the reference has a higher chance of getting you not getting your job pulled than it does of actually getting your job.
The expectation is they're going to say, yeah, that person's great.
Yeah, and most of your recommendation, even a lukewarm
I'm really sorry that they're leaving.
Is just as good.
Or
as
sometimes
really
you get, I can confirm that he worked here.
Yes.
And that I can confirm that he worked here. Okay.
And then you have those question marks and flags go up, and you think, yeah. So I'm going to put it low D tier. All right, next is a light bulb with portfolio. So I guess portfolio of work that could include, I guess, writing samples or
examples. It could be anything. So, anything. It could be your GitHub page, right?
Yep.
It could be an art portfolio. The design students, we've been looking at electronic portfolio platforms for them, for their architectural designs and their landscape designs, fine art portfolios. But I'm going to say this could also include like your social media presence, right? So if you have a bit of a personality online, the content you're putting out there, that could be your portfolio. I'm going to give a presentation on this very subject later this week, and I think it can be an important part, not an end-all, be-all. It can also hurt, right? It's a double-edged sword because if you're
don't like your portfolio,
again, I'm thinking strictly of your online personality, right? If you have an online presence that is counter to your professional presence, and you haven't gotten out ahead of that and say, I do this thing where I'm like this wacky character online, or like whatever. That could be a potential pitfall, right?
Yeah, or you're out there like bashing a potential client or something.
Right. I mean, we used to say all the time. I mean, now people have grown up with social media, so it's nice. But don't go online and like if your online presence is constantly talking about how unhappy you are at work and bashing your employer, that maybe doesn't make you the most attractive. I unfortunately was working with a friend of mine who that was their online presence, and I was like, this is gonna maybe you want to think about taking this down because potential employers might be looking at this, and they were like, no, that's who I am. I was like, okay, well, great.
And that's great. One of the points I always bring up is that double-edged sword of like, do you want to work for an employer who cares that much about that? If that's so important to who you are.
That's exactly right. And I think that was it. He was like, well, if someone can't take me at my worst, they don't get me at my best. And I was like, well, that's totally fair.
It is absolutely
fair. Go
fair.
Find that person. Yeah.
So I think where I'm leaning, and some of this is visual because we don't have anything in the B category. I kind of like putting it in the B category.
I think it's a solid B.
And part of that is because there are a lot of jobs that don't need a portfolio, but the ones that do, it's so important.
It's so important to be able to see
design
work.
engineering.
When I hire work studies to work on the podcast or to do content creation, they have to submit samples of their work, submit a portfolio to me. And I remember this last hiring season in particular, I saw so many great things. I was like, all of these people would be, based on their work, would be great.
Yeah. So, and for the ones that's important, that probably supersedes almost everything else.
Almost everything else, yeah.
Like your quality of work and what you're showcasing there matters so much.
Make it a B.
All right, I'm putting it in the B category, our first B. And I think this is a picture of one of our career fairs in Houston Hall.
It sure is. Now, Natty, I know your instinct to say F.
I'm somewhat vocal about not liking career fairs. But they're fine.
I think they serve a purpose.
They do. I'm willing to hear out an argument that puts them higher. My only reason against them is that I feel like they don't. The best case scenario of a career fair is that it helps facilitate a connection that you otherwise wouldn't have made.
Yes, correct.
And especially helps you see employers that maybe you didn't even know existed. You come by a table, see a role or something like that. And I think that is really an interesting element of it, where you can just go to a physical location, roam around, and actually like have your horizons open in some sort of way. And that's powerful.
I think of it mostly as an exploration thing.
Yeah.
I think there is a difference between a career fair and a hiring fair. You sometimes see people that are doing hiring fairs, and those are like, we're going to interview on the spot, and can you start tomorrow? These folks, many of the employers do have positions open. They maybe have internships or full-time positions open when they come to campus. Other times they may be just there for informational purposes because they want to attract. They hire as needed, but they want people to know, hey, consider us when you're on the lookout. And I think exactly what you said is so true. I think it opens your eyes to the variety of employers that are out there, even at something that's a industry-specific fair like the design fair or the engineering fair. You might go in and go, oh, I never really thought about Xfinity as a engineering job. I thought they've got all these different kinds of engineering jobs. Or, a small non-brand name firm that has all these really interesting positions open. They're doing really cool things. So it's a great way to network. It's a great way to do career exploration. It's a great way to start the job application process by connecting with a recruiter. So I'm going to put it at B.
All right, I was leaning B anyway. I think the downside of career fairs is that if you treat it purely as, I already know I'm interested in this employer, I'm going to use it as a chance to talk to someone at that company. That can work out, like you have a decent conversation, maybe you learn something that you didn't know already about the company. Sometimes when you're already thinking about, the top name companies, they're going to get there and there's going to be a line out the door for the one employer, and the recruiter's barely going to remember the conversation because they just met with 3,000 students in a row.
Yeah.
So I think from that like limited look at it, I don't think it's as important, but all the things that you mentioned I think are very useful when you identify someone who's smaller or realize something new. The thing is, like, sometimes you can make those connections other ways through networking more broadly. So I will put it in the B tier. I think I agree. It has its pluses and its minuses. It's not for everyone, but it's useful. All right, last one. Do you remember what it is?
Coffee chats and info sessions.
Okay, yeah. Let's treat this as it is a picture of coffee. Let's treat this as info sessions.
It was hard to find a picture of an info session.
Yeah. In some ways, an extension of networking, which is important,
and
but
in some ways, one employer career fair.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say that too. Where there is sometimes that element of like, it's not necessary. I mean, what I tell the students all the time too is like, we have so many info sessions and coffee chat things that are going on campus with especially certain industries like banking and finance and consulting. The students who are interested in those industries, you physically don't have time in the day to go to every single info session.
Right.
So I think a lot of times I'm usually trying to convince students don't feel like you need to go to all of these. There's so many.
And then on top of the virtual ones that are happening too.
Yep. Now, the other side of that is it is a good opportunity, like we said with the career fairs. It's a good opportunity to make a connection, meet an employer, learn something new about them. It might even help inform you on like what types of decisions you want to make when you're submitting an application. Maybe they emphasize, oh, this is so important to us, so you make sure you include a little paragraph about how you've done that exact thing in your cover letter. Maybe it helps get you a name of a recruiter, or sometimes employers will bring alumni from Penn to these events and have them talk and share their experiences. So then you have a name to put maybe in that referral place, or to reconnect and thank them and send a little note saying like, hey, our conversation at that info session was so useful, I just recently applied. Maybe that helps in some sort of way too. So I don't know. What do you think? I am split on it.
It's a high B for me.
High B? Okay. I was going to say I think I would lean B tier somewhere. Maybe between portfolio and career fair.
Yeah,
I think the advantage of it.
I could put it above career fair. It's more focused,
and you know that's already what you want. You can often make a really good tailored connection with a specific person that can really help.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the person that's particularly if they're coming to campus, they're quote unquote our campus recruiter, right? Like they're probably going to be in charge of that search.
Yeah.
So it would be great to follow up with them. Whereas sometimes, not always, but sometimes the people who come to career fairs, their only job is to go. They're going to be here today, and they're going to be at Temple tomorrow, and Penn State the next day, and then they're going to be in Ohio, right? So they don't have the. You're not going to stay with them through the process. Now you might, depending on the company, but a lot of those reps, they're just that's what they do. They go to all these different fairs. So.
And were you talking about it last week, like the college campus tour that you had? It was on a recent episode.
Yeah,
I think
it was
kind of like that, too.
It was last week.
Sometimes you go to a bunch of info sessions, they all feel kind of the same.
They start to feel the same,
They say that they love building community.
And the company culture is great. We've got great coffee and the cafeteria.
And even though they still all kind of present the same things, you will often still get that really specific vibe or really specific understanding of, oh, no, wait, this is for me or this isn't.
Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah.
All right, run down our final rankings there.
All right, so in S tier we have, this is cheating, handshake broadly.
It's not cheating.
I think it encompasses everything. It's all inclusive. So handshake is amazing, so use it, reach out to us.
That's why it's S tier. It's got everything.
I think our 2 S tiers are both kind of cheating, because then networking, which is also pretty
broad.
Encompassing and broad, but also just so important. Like, I think a good networking session and making a really good connection with someone will almost always beat anything on this list. You could have a terrible interview, but if you later have a connection with the hiring manager and have a chat with them and they're like, oh, no, wait, that interview didn't matter that much. It was just a stressful situation, and I know this person's going to do a great job. That can be more important than a lot of this other stuff. So that's our S tier, handshake and networking. A tier, at the top of the A tier, we were a little bit self-serving. We put appointments with us at Career Services. Meet with us, talk with us.
I think it's valid. I think it's valid.
We next had interviews. Interviews are so important to standing out. Then we had, I think it's resume and then cover letter.
Yep.
Which, you can't ever find a job really without those two things.
Yep.
So
the staples.
They're pretty essential. At the top of the B tier, we had portfolio, which, like we said, on one hand, a lot of people don't need a portfolio, but the ones who do, it's often really, really important. So kind of put it in the middle there. Then we had coffee chats and info sessions and career fairs just after that, similar types of extensions of networking. We had certificate, in the C tier, C for certificate.
It's good enough for me.
That's cookie.
Oh.
And then in the D tier, we had GPA, and then right after it, letters of reference. Although you're right, for medical school or like professional programs,
but we're looking at this today as the job search tools. So in that context, down at the bottom.
Yeah, they already made up their mind by the time they read that.
Well, we're gonna download this list. We're gonna have it linked in the show notes. Of course, if you're watching the video podcast, you've been following along.
Let us know if we missed something or
if we're
what's
on your list. We want to know. And we look forward to talking again next week. So I hope everybody's doing well. Hope you all got your caps and gowns. Hope
Say
you
hi
all
to us at the
filled out
bookstore.
your career plan survey if you're graduating. Grad students, get ready. It's opening in April for you. We open a little earlier for the undergrads. I hope everybody has a great week. And we'll see you next time on CS Radio. This podcast is produced by the University of Pennsylvania Career Services Office, a division of University Life. It was created by J. Michael DeAngelis and Amy Lynn Kirshner. Your hosts and producers are J. Michael DeAngelis and Natty Leach, and it's produced, mixed, and edited by Lorna Lynn. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and Threads at Penn Career Serve. We'll see you next time on CS Radio.